Okay, so the realization is focus, haphazard vlogging as haphazard self-forgiveness didn't actually bring me any problems in inverted commas. So haphazard vlogging won't, and not focusing on my vlogging won't. This is how one measures the inequality. Probably not the right way of spraying it out of my mouth. That there's no doubt about it though, focusing on one point is most definitely the best for all, possibly, way. Though whilst I have been claiming to be working from the principle what's best for all, it sounds nice, it's a beautiful statement. I do will myself to do so, though who says how my application is or isn't best for all, in that I do consider all in all that I do. I'm dealing with thinking currently and realising the entity creative nature of the mind, and therefore one must possibly, probably, although equally take as much care about one's thoughts as one's words or deeds. And then I suppose it follows I must deal with my words also, and therefore, as much as I'm trying to justify my inept dialogue-ish ways, ultimately I will fully realise one point at a time. I was thinking about weed. I remembered. See, this is what's happening. I'm jumping from subject to subject. I'm being entertained by it. It doesn't bother me. Whilst I do and will be working entirely from the principle of what's best for all, these vlogs are for myself in that application, and therefore how I present myself to myself is for myself, an individual member of the collective. The fact that I am not focusing on point to point, my interaction with others is where that must be focused initially, not reacting to visual and verbal stimuli that will generate a perspective, let's be polite, of whatever I am impulsed towards. Important words, impulsed. Before we get to the weed, the caffeinated tea, fucking hell, it ain't like caffeine in coffee. And there's caffeine in them soft drinks as well. I used to take caffeine tablets when I was an early drug abuser. Fucking hell. Oh, now you can get it, well, I suppose you could get it legally then. Actually, caffeine tablets are good for the respiratory system again, aren't they? Interesting. And then I watched something or read something about yogic breathing exercises and their ability. Was AnthonyWilson disappointed in his self-interested? I'm part of the culture, and therefore I'm alright, Jack. I can't remember his verbalisation of it. Some stimulated it was something Timothy Leary had said that Don John's fucking grandma invented while she was having shit on the fucking toilet in the backyard, but it wasn't a toilet as such, it was a hole dug in the ground, and the way the shit thud in it, the earth, was a dystopian fucking principally. Yeah. And meanwhile, back in the Playboy magazine, there are boobs on show for those who suck their mother's tit and can't get enough of it. Still, Anthony, weed. Then I didn't cover the caffeinated tea then, did I get back to it? Weed. What I've found with weed, cannabis, hashish, is it affects a person's space-time interplay, let's call it. If you divided your life into 2/3, your first third is growing up, your second third would be working towards what you're going to be, your third would be being what you're going to be. Start smoking weed during the first third and it seems to switch around the following 2/3, where you become what you're going to become, and then you don't have to stop smoking either. It's if you continue smoking, and then, well, it swaps the 2/3 around. Let me give you an example. It's probably a bit loose, this example. The geezer used to preach about smoking cannabis to my father. That old routine where if everybody turned on, the world would be a better place. Everybody did turn on, and the people that did turn on, that were going to make the world a better place, chased the guy out of town, funnily enough. Anyway, and now last time I saw him, he was preaching for Yahweh and the satanic DNA that's in us, and how horrific it was. And it's like, I didn't get round to asking him this question, well, what are you going to do about it actually? So, say we have got satanic DNA, it's DNA in it. It's not like you can wash it out in your fucking sink or any other fucking implementation. I mean, well, what's it suggest? Genetic fucking engineering. I'm just going to have my satanic DNA removed on the national health. Anyway, it just sort of made me think. He spent his second, third preaching, and his third being a preacher of the normal programme. It's a bit haphazard, that, Anthony. I knew what I meant. I'm not really interested in showing it, because what the fuck? Anyone's going to smoke weed is not going to not smoke because I've told them that coherently, which I haven't. Anybody who's going to smoke weed is not going to not smoke because I said don't smoke. You're not going to stop people smoking weed. It grows in the fucking fields. I mean, you do have to seed it to get it, though. And yeah, there are actually, if you watch what Jack and Bruce Lee say about it, can't think what, cementing you into the matrix, fucking hell, and well, and yeah, and there are various things about it that well, I said I couldn't say I was never going to smoke any weed. That's 3 days now since I had any. Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's the third day. He rose again. He rose. No more heroes anymore. Well, I'm just at a space in my words there's going to be a link to a vlog that I unlisted because I considered it to be a poor vlog, but it is part of this Trinity, this one, that one, and the one previous, the breath, the weed one. Yeah, it's supposed to be space time, and like I said at the end of that, one thing with drugs is there is no validity in any valid relevance in that anything you believe you was, oh wait, it fucks with your time, it does fuck with your space time. I'm not on that 2/3 thing. It sort of picks you up and moves you along the timeline, compressing that which you would learn in the timeline into a compressed program. Compressed programs, don't they, on the computer? And therefore when you come down off it, you sort of believe you've made some realizations, but all that's occurred is you've moved along the timeline compressedly, and that you believe you to have realised on the weed, you were on the road to realising it anyway. You just smoked some weed and realised it, rather than if you'd not smoked any weed and walked along the timeline in time, with time, space time, you would have realised it in real time, coherently, rather than shockingly. Oh fucking hell, what's, and if I hadn't smoked that weed, I wouldn't have known that, and they won't let me smoke weed, so they don't want me to know it. Joining dots it's called, and creating horrific pictures you don't like, because you don't understand what you're doing to yourself. So this might be the last unfocused vlog, given that I've got 2 days to get my shit together to move into my new gaff. I haven't got a new connection though, I haven't even bothered looking into it beyond knowing I need to deal with it. I'm just going to go bank and cancel the direct debit. Start again. I could do it with a few days, a few weeks off the internet. I can go to the internet shop and make vlogs, but I really need to consider my position in all of this, as one would and should anyway. I find a few weeks off the internet it's good, it's best for all, no doubt about that. It's best for me, and if it's best for me, it's best for all. Well, there's not any real self-interest in that, more of a sort of, well, yeah, I've got started to say, I might look unstable, might appear unstable, I might not be applying myself in ways that I can be used and abused by all, though my intention is to work from the principle what's best for all, and therefore that being my start point, one finds that if the start point is correct, then the interplay in between the start and the end works itself out. There are things that I'm not doing correctly, I'm not applying, still smoking, that's an issue, that isn't best for all, there's no two ways about it, it can't be justified. My justifications for it I've run out anyway. They did do maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago actually, although gets debatable. I believe that I could sense that the justifications were running out 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they have. In fact, it's moving the other way. It's like I made a vlog somewhere about you reach a point where, okay, you reach reach a point where running into a wall consistently might be good for you in some respects, because it knocks some sense into you, but you reach a point where it becomes debilitating in that you will start harming yourself with it, and that's where I'm at with smoking. Caffeine's out the fucking window, I don't like it at all.